Hey, greetings! Welcome back to Sean's Irish Whiskey Shelf, coming at you from the heart of the United States out here in the Midwest. And before I even get started this evening, I need to let you all know that my beautiful bride and her mom are both out of the house right now, which means I'm home with the dogs by myself. So if you hear some barking, the dogs seem to think they hear things when they're really maybe not necessarily hearing anything. So, or they might just trying to be putting their little 2 cents in on our whiskey tonight. So just bear with me. I had a viewer one time tell me that this particular viewer enjoyed that I almost always do this in one take. And I enjoy doing it in one take. So if the dogs bark, I'm not cutting it out. We're just going to keep going. And even stumbling over my words, you get to hear me, just jumble all over myself. So before we get started also, reminder, hard to find whiskey, htfw.com. If you're looking for some whiskey that perhaps you can't find at your local retailer, give them a try. Yes, I know they're overseas, but they're still my favorite retailer. There's stuff there that I haven't found anywhere else. So for me, it's worth the little extra shipping to get it over here to the States. So check them out. All kinds of whiskey. They got gin on there as well. I think they've got tequila and vodka. I mean, they're great selection. So give them a try. I don't pay attention to the gin and the tequila and stuff. I'm all about Irish whiskey. So there you go. Now, what I have for you this evening, last video, a viewer asked if I could tell him what my favorite whiskey was. He was a Redbreast drinker. And it's kind of a loaded question. I have a lot of my favorite whiskeys, but you have to kind of put it in context. How much do you want to spend? What style of whiskey is it? So he's a Redbreast drinker, so I figured, okay, single pot still. I like my single pot still. This gentleman likes his single pot still. So by golly, we're going to drink some single pot still tonight. What you see in front of you is the extent of single pot still on my shelves, with the exception of all of the rest of the Redbreasts. Every single Redbreast is a single pot still. And the spots, all these spots up here, are all single pot still. I would need to zoom way out or get a bigger table or something. So I didn't pull those down. But everything else on the shelves that is single pot still is on this table. Now, we're not going to try all of these because I don't want to get schnockered. I would, like to finish this up and go out and have my cigar, even though it's only 29 degrees outside here. I'll just crank up the heater. I don't want to get totally juiced. So we'll talk about these, and I'm strategically going to try a couple of these. So let's jump right into this, because this is already going to be long enough, and I don't want to keep it any longer than you have to. All right, single pot stills. So, and by the way, all of these have been on the show already. So Dingle has a limited edition series. This one, it's the Wheel of Time, I believe they call it, if I recall correctly. Bealtaine. We're not going to try this one because it is a limited edition single pot still, number one. Number two, its taste is so unique that I really don't think you can hold it up to any other single pot still. So it is a single pot still. It is a flavor that is just totally different from everything else in here. If you find it, it should run you into low hundreds. I think I paid $120 for this, around there, $120, $125. Well worth it. I enjoyed it, but we're not tasting it tonight. And by the way, we're going from most expensive down to least expensive, if you haven't, tried to figure that out yet. Method and Madness. So this Method and Madness is also a single pot still, and it is also not one that we're going to taste. Why? It is also a limited edition, so you may not be able to find it. And because it was finished in chestnut casks, it too has a flavor that is just different than what you would normally find in a single pot still. Fantastic flavor, but nothing like the rest of these. So if you do find this, it should be in the $80 to $90 range, I believe, is where you'll find it. Certainly well worth you putting down a C note to get it. Fantastic whiskey. All right, Redbreast 12. Ah, the gold standard, right? Everybody knows Redbreast, just like everybody knows Jameson. All right, Redbreast 12. Redbreast has been raising their prices lately, and I went online to look around a little bit. Should be able to find this for about the $80 to $90 range, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. If you're buying it online, maybe less. If you're buying it at a local store, maybe more. But when you talk about single pot still, and you talk about fine single pot still whiskeys, Redbreast is going to be one that everybody looks at as the gold standard. We are going to try it because we'll see how much of a gold standard it is to the next one we try. So Redbreast 12. Yep, and that's a fine single pot still whiskey. You can't complain. I drink that every day. If I had the kind of money to spend to make this my everyday sipper, by golly, it would be an everyday sipper. But I don't have that kind of money. And the extra money I do have goes to filling up more spots on the shelf. Middleton, Redbreast, Green Spot. These three are all from the Middleton Distillery. So they're all from, the powerhouse. Now, Green Spot, in my experience, Green Spot and Redbreast have both been kind of hit and miss on when you can find them in local retail stores. But for me anyway, I just feel like I've seen Green Spot a little bit more than Redbreast. Might be just a misconception, might be something, where I was drinking too much whiskey, but that's my recollection. Green Spot, should be able to find it for a little bit less than Redbreast, maybe about $10 less a bottle. And I'm going to try some Green Spot because I've had the Redbreast, and let's see how the Green Spot does. Is it worth, spending $10 less to get kind of a comparable single pot still? Maybe. So let's give it a shot. See, I think between the two, I don't know, I think the Redbreast, I gotta wait just a second. I think the Redbreast might have a little more oomph to it. Might have just a little bit more of a powerful flavor than the Green Spot. Remember, the Redbreast is 12 years old. Green Spot is 9 years old. So you got a little bit of age difference there. But in fact, you know what, folks? Let me check one thing here. Green Spot, yeah, this is not specially finished in any way. This is just a standard single pot still, just like the Redbreast. I think the Redbreast has a little bit more of a punch to it. So does that mean I won't drink Green Spot? Heck, no. I'd drink that any day. If I was looking to maybe save a little bit of money and wanted to get something not quite as expensive as the Redbreast, but almost as good, well, then it would be the Green Spot. But if you're only talking a difference of $10, might as well get the Redbreast, okay? All right, next single pot still I have up here is Drumshanbo. This is a fairly new whiskey on the market. I actually have not seen this hardly anywhere that I've been shopping. It is a single pot still. It is very good. You should be able to find this in about the $70 range. Same range as the Green Spot. Same range as the Powers John's Lane, excuse me. It is a very good whiskey. I'm not tasting it tonight because I recall that it was a fine drop of whiskey. And just like the green spot, to me, it's worth $70. Easily. Same as the Powers John's Lane. Now, these two Powers, just like these three up here, these two whiskeys, Middleton Distillery, Powers John's Lane, this is a 12-year-old whiskey. Kind of hard to find, so I'm not tasting it either. That's part of why I'm not tasting these two. They're not really easy to find, even for the price. If you see one and you want to get a fine drop of whiskey, get either of them. But we're not tasting it tonight because they're just not that easy to find. At least it's been my experience. However, Powers 3 Swallow. This one's a little easier to find, and we are going to taste it because now you're getting down into around the $50 to $60 range. So you're getting to where you're finding a little bit more reasonably priced, perhaps. And like the Powers John's Lane, it is a really, really good drop of whiskey. So let's refresh our memory with this. Yeah, see, that's pretty good. What I will say about it, I think it has a little bit more of an ethanol burn than these two. And it seems like it's got kind of a little sweet component to it. I kind of get that sweetness flavor, blue collar palate, all right? But to me, it is a good drop of single pot still, but it's not quite the same flavor as the Redbreast and the Green Spot. I still hold Redbreast of all of these. I still think Redbreast is probably the best. But Powers 3 Swallow, you got $50 or $60 to spend, and that's all you have to spend. Nothing wrong with that at all. There's also nothing wrong with the Glendalough pot still. They don't call it single pot still, it's just called pot still. And I wrote the distillery and I asked, okay, you don't call this single pot still, you just call it pot still. Does this mean that you're not getting the whiskey from a single source? And I have yet to hear a response back. And it's been about a month, maybe a little more than a month. A little disappointed, but that's all right. So, Glendalough pot still. My son loves this. Every time he comes over, I have to beat him away from it, or I wouldn't have a bottle left. So, let's see what his taste buds are like. So, doesn't have the ethanol burn as the 3 Swallow. But again, it is a good single pot still. But it's got a flavor profile that really is different from these two. I wish I could tell you what it was. It's not a sweetness flavor. Doesn't have like a vanilla-y flavor or something like that. It's just different. Yeah, see, they're not saying anything on here. Oak, ex-bourbon, that's what we do. Irish oak casks. So they're not doing anything really unique like chestnut, marsala, Madeira, port. They're not doing any of that. But it definitely has a bit of a different flavor. It's not hateful. It's actually quite good. But I'm still not going to hold it up here with the Green Spot. And I'm not going to hold it with the Redbreast. I will tell you that these 4 whiskeys all should be able to be had in the $50 to $75 range. And any of them you'll do fine with. Your palate is different than mine. You may find one objectionable. But, you know, I try to do my best and tell you what I like. And all 4 of these I would drink heartily. And, you know, if you ever buy a bottle of whiskey and you don't like it, hey, send it to me. I'll finish it for you. So, Never let a good drop of whiskey go to waste. All right. Now we've got these two. These are budget whiskeys. They're both single pot still. You shouldn't pay more than about $40 for either of these. If you do, you probably got ripped off. Busker single pot still and Samuel Gelston single pot still. Neither of these are what you would call right home to mama about. But they're out there. Should you buy one? Maybe. We're going to try both of these because it's been a while since I've had the Buskers. And we had the Gelstons not too long ago, and I was really, really not impressed. But let's see if the Busker single pot still is just as unimpressive as the Gelston. Maybe it's better. Let's find out. For a cheap single pot still, that actually has a little bit of flavor. It's not as multi-dimensional as, say, a green spot. It's a Redbreast. You get just a whole mouthful of flavor here. You're not going to get quite so much with the Busker. But that said, is it hateful? Not really. It's got enough flavor that you could make it into an everyday drinker. I don't know that I would put it up against my Tullamore Dew or my Bushmills White, but then again, those aren't single pot stills. So how is that even a fair comparison? All I will say is it's not hateful. I would not take it over any of these. Money being no object. Heck, if money was no object, we'd be up here drinking Redbreast 21 or Redbreast cask strength, right? Red Spot, if money was no object. But Honest Injun, that's not hateful. It's not hateful. I don't think it's going to be as hateful as this Gelston's. That I can tell you. Yeah. No. Very, very unimpressive. Really is. There is absolutely, folks, absolutely no competition between these two. Not even in the same ballpark. Yeah, I get this is a single pot still. But I'm sorry. You know, if there's anybody out there that's drinking Gelstons and enjoys it, or anybody from Gelstons at all that watches my videos, it's just not my palate. I would take Busker over that, any day of the week. Any night of the week. Yeah, no competition at all. I want to do one more thing. So let's refresh with the Busker one time. And again, it's not going to be quite as flavorful. It's not going to be quite as flavorful alive for your taste buds. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. It's not bad. Let's get that straight. It's just not as good as some of these. But I wonder. This is the Glendalough. No. This might be good for an everyday whiskey. And the price is right. All right. Excuse me, had a little bit of that go down the wrong pipe. I hate when that happens. One take though. You know, I can see a place for this Busker. I can see if someone wants to try single pot still for the first time, get an idea of what that profile is like, and you don't want to spend a whole lot of money on a Redbreast. Get a bottle of Busker. Busker Gray. Warm up to it. You want to make mixed drinks, and you want to use single pot still to make your mixed drinks. Get the Busker. The Busker has its place. If you want to do single pot still and you don't want to spend a lot of money, the Busker is a fine alternative. And then as you go up the line here, you're going to spend a little more money as you go. And some of these, like I said, you may not find. Single pot still is still my favorite. Single malt is starting to come around a little bit to me. And blends, obviously, blends are, you know, there's so many different ways that you can make a blended whiskey. But I think single pot still is still my favorite. So, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, because I love doing this, and I hope you got something out of it. You know, single pot still whiskeys they're fantastic. And if you like them, maybe I've steered you towards trying something a little different tonight. I don't know, maybe. If you liked the video as much as I liked making it, take a second, please go down to that corner, click the thumbs up button, because it means a lot to me. Makes the YouTube algorithms happy also. And if you haven't already done so, and I'm almost there, I'm almost to 100 subscribers. I never thought I'd make 10. So having almost 100 of you subscribing to this channel, that means so much to me. Go down into that corner over there if you haven't already done it, click the subscribe button, and when you're done, you can click the thumbs up. Excuse me, that's the thumbs up. You can go down there and click the bell. How about that? Go down there and click the bell, and then you'll be notified when I do a new video. So until we meet again, which should be next week, I want you to enjoy your drop of whiskey, because any reason to have a drop of Irish whiskey is a great reason. Next week, what are we going to do? Well, I did get my shipment in, so Peaky Blinder right here. I lost a bottle of this in the Great Irish Whiskey Disaster of 2021, so we're going to give this a try. Look at that nice dark coloring. That is a nice dark Irish whiskey. We're going to give this a try. This was aged in sherry casks, so it should be interesting. And I also got in, I told you I'd have a bottle of whiskey that's near and dear to my heart. We have Sean's Irish Whiskey. I wish it was the same Sean as the one who runs this channel, but it's not. This came from Sean's Bar, the oldest pub in all of Ireland. So we're going to taste that together. Probably not next week, maybe the week after, because I'm really, really anxious to try the Peaky Blinder. So that's all I have for you this evening. I do want you to be well and be safe. Drink your Irish whiskey responsibly so you can be here next week. Just like I'm going to drink this Redbreast responsibly. Oh, what a good drop of whiskey. All right, folks. Sláinte. Bye now.